Hi everyone. The owner of one of the largest kosher American confectioners was also a major supporter of the famed Beis Medrash Gavoa of Lakewood, New Jersey. On one occasion, at a very large function, he had the privilege of introducing Rav Schneur Kotler Zecher Tzadik Livracha, then the famous Rosh Yeshiva of Beis Medrash Gavoa. The businessman began by explaining that both he and the Rosh Yeshiva had a great deal in common. Both of us went to Cheder in Europe, he said. Both of us survived the war. And now both of us run major institutions. Both of us provide the public with an excellent product that is sweet and enjoyable. Many stand in line to speak with me, and many stand in line to speak with the Rosh Yeshiva. We're both very well known, and we both try to help others. And then he paused and he smiled. However, there is one fundamental difference between us, he said. You see, I produce lollipops, but the Rosh Yeshiva, he produces men. I often look at the longevity identified in the different generations of the last two Parshas Bereshis and Noach, and I'm dumbfounded by the sheer longevity of the lives of the men listed in these Parshios. Metushelach led the pack with a life that spanned 969 years, but each of the different generations, both before and after him, definitely lived a long and robust life. Did you ever wonder what those people did with those long lives? I mean, when we contrast the length of their lives with the jam-packed life of a David HaMelech who composed Sefer Tehillim and lived the incredible challenges and triumphs in a life that was just seemingly never ending with something going on, as described in Sefer Shmuel, or the Rambam's 70 years and what he did to fill his life, which in comparison seems way too short. It only serves to strengthen my question. Why did these people have such exceptionally long lives? And what were they supposed to be doing with it? Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto explains that the generations that lived before the Mabul, and the first few generations after the Mabul as well, possessed tremendous insight and wisdom into the esoteric secrets of creation and the workings of Hashem, as it were. The older they became, the more privy they were to the deeper and more penetrating secrets of the world. God granted them extra years to allow them that wisdom so that they could utilize it to raise the world to its ultimate rectification and sanctification. Ironically, however, the more wisdom that they attained, the more corrupt and morally depraved they became. In other words, the generations took this gift of knowledge, the spiritual greatness of the world and the different elements that made it up, and used that knowledge not to improve the world or its connection with Hashem. Instead, they used it for their own greed and desire to dominate the world. In short, their greatness and wisdom, the very reason they received a long life, was in direct proportion with their spiritual decline. And thus God had to destroy the world. And thus after the Mabul, as the generations continued their spiritual and moral decline, Hashem shortened their lifespans, so they would not have the opportunity to cause as much damage as they had before. And by the time Avram Avinu came on the scene, as is seen at the end of this week's Parsha, no one was privy to those secrets of life and of the ways of Hashem, unless he or she toiled and invested unyielding effort to achieve it. And thus Avram Avinu becomes the first of so many who needed to search for Hashem in every facet of life and creation. And thus it's not how long one lives that makes for a fulfilling life, but rather how one chooses to fill it. And similarly, it doesn't matter how much somebody knows, but rather what one does with the knowledge that makes a difference. What truly counts is how much one internalizes the wisdom he or she attains, and consequently seeks to inculcate that knowledge into his or her soul and essence. You know, there's a fascinating comment of the Vilna Gaon that comes to mind and seems relevant to the discussion of what truly counts in life. The Gra bases himself on a passage in the Gemara in Sanhedrin which notes, Amar of Alexandri, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Rami Ksiv, Be'ito Ksiv Achishana. Rav Alexandri quotes Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, who noted that there was a contradiction in a pasuk in Yeshayahu, where the Navi says that God will send the Geula in its time, and I will hasten it. To which Rav Alexandri explains, Zachu Achishana, if there is a meritorious time, if we merit it, the time of Geula will be hastened. But if not, then it can only come be'ita, in its proper time. The Gra notes that the two times are really one and of the same. In other words, says the Gra, there will be a time that will be both regular paced and also seemingly hastened. If we make sure to seek Hashem in every facet of our being and world, we will discover Him and all that truly counts in a life with Him at the center. And we will therefore rapidly be on an express train to Geula. But if we do not seek Hashem and we don't find Him, then the generations will continue to grow longer. But the longevity of the past that led to a knowledge of Hashem, that will not be there. There have been periods of Jewish history when the fervor of Geula was quite high, and there was potential for tremendous growth in the spiritual world. One colleague, Rabbi David Bashevkin, has noted that in the year 1840, there was a tremendous rapid-paced growth in the world. The first intercontinental railway lines were installed by Rothschild. Superhighways were built in Warsaw, connecting it to Russia. The ability to do business in Europe and live life was more accessible and quicker than ever before. But not everyone was excited by these developments. Rav Yaakov Lifshitz, the secretary to the Gadol Ador of Yitzchak Elchanan Spector, feared the crisis of modernity and longed for simpler times that led the great minds of the times to worry only about learning Torah. But others, including the Hasidic court of Ishbitz, which was founded in 1840, saw the time as an opportunity in which the words of Torah can become more accessible and attainable to the minds of mankind. It's not the time or the technology that will make us or break us, but rather whether we use it to grow towards Hashem and His Torah or fall into the abyss of nothingness that working and worrying about survival as in days past, or leisure as in this new time of prosperity beginning in 1840, are both able to create, that will determine if we fill our lives with meaning and purpose. You know, folks, fast forwarding to 181 years, and we are once again gifted the opportunity to use history and heroes to guide us in our choices for life. We need to remember that a great life does not come from material possessions, not even from lollipops, or vapid praise, or even great breadth of knowledge. Rather, it comes from inner pondering and soul-searching, and a passionate drive for truth. We want to learn Torah in the gaps that we feel in our lives, and use this time for what it can be, becoming men who rely on tradition in the times of rapid change as an anchor and a compass in uncharted territory. And in that way, we can utilize the advice of Rav Kook Zecher Tzadik Livracha, who declared, Hayashon Yischadesh, V'hachadash Yiskadesh. The old shall be made new, and the new shall be made holy. That's our job within this world. As Mispar Yamecha Amolei, God promises that if we figure this out, He will make our lives fulfilling. Not just fulfilling in terms of the amount of time, but make each moment within our lives meaningful, purposeful, and focused on that which is important. Technological advancement gives us the chance to do something special, and it's up to us to take advantage. Shabbat Shalom to all.